All right, everybody, welcome back. Ready for another deep dive. Today, we're tackling a topic that can be a real headache for aspiring teachers heading to Korea.
Oh, yeah, paperwork, everyone's favorite, right?
Exactly. But specifically, we're focusing on the Apostille process. And just to be super clear, we're not going to get bogged down in the what is an apostille stuff today.
We're assuming you've at least heard the term before.
Yeah, we're going straight for that how-to, that nitty-gritty of getting yours done, especially for all our Aussie and Kiwi listeners out there looking to teach in Korea.
Absolutely, that's our target audience today.
Because let's be honest, you're already excited about K-pop and bibimbap. You don't want to get stuck in a paperwork black hole.
Nope, let's streamline things.
Okay, first things first, and this kind of jumped out at me when I was looking at our notes from Korvia. There's a difference in what documents you need, depending on if you're going for an EPIK program or a Hagwon.
Right, you've got to know where you're headed before you even start gathering those papers. Like, for our Australian listeners, if you're aiming for EPIK, you'll need a certified copy of your birth certificate
Uh-huh.
or a certificate of citizenship if you happen to have immigrated to Australia at some point. But the interesting thing is, if you're applying to a Hagwon, they don't need that.
So that's a decision you need to make before you even think about apostilles.
It really highlights how important it is to meticulously research the specific requirements of whatever program you're going for. It's going to save you so much time and hassle in the long run.
Don't just assume, right? Double check everything.
1,000%.
Okay, so assuming we've got our teaching program sorted, let's get into the actual apostille process itself. Police certificates, degrees. That seems pretty standard for both Aussies and Kiwis.
Yeah, the usual suspects when it comes to teaching abroad.
But then our sources really emphasize this whole individual apostille thing. What's the deal with that?
Yeah, you absolutely cannot bundle your documents. Each and every single one needs its own separate apostille.
Interesting.
Which, for Australians, that means getting each one stamped by DFE, the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade.
Right.
And for Kiwis, it's through their government.
So no trying to be sneaky and save a few bucks by lumping them together, huh?
Honestly, it's a recipe for disaster. Korean authorities are super thorough. They need to be able to verify each document's authenticity on its own.
So it's all about keeping things clear and traceable. Makes sense.
And it just makes everything so much smoother in the long run, trust me.
Now, something else I've heard from, well, friends who've gone through this process, sometimes notarization is needed before you even get to the apostille stage.
Exactly. And that's another thing where you really got to check the specifics on those government websites. Don't just assume anything, you know?
Right.
But the good news is, like Korvia mentions, all that info is easy to find online.
Perfect. So just to quickly recap for everyone, you got to know your teaching program like the back of your hand.
Yep, that's number one.
Gather all the right documents.
Absolutely.
And then those individual apostilles
Non-negotiable.
are absolutely crucial. Oh, and don't forget to double check about notarization.
Right. Sometimes it's needed, sometimes it's not.
Okay, so is there anything else we should be keeping in mind during this whole process?
Well, remember, we've only scratched the surface here. We've focused on the how, on the nuts and bolts of getting those apostilles.
The mechanics of it all.
Exactly. But the why behind some of these requirements, well, that's a whole other deep dive waiting to happen.
I think our listeners would be really interested to hear more about that.
But for now, armed with this apostille knowledge, you're one step closer to landing in that Korean classroom.
Exactly. Apostille secured. Korea, here we come.
And hey, listeners, if you are curious about those whys, about the reasoning behind certain documents,
Let us know. We're always up for a good deep dive.